I'm delighted to be here. Sam Guy and I just talked. We were at a similar dedication yesterday for another one of Wilmington's outstanding citizens. And Sam just said there are so many people in this city that are worth remembering. We could do this every day, and I think he's right. I don't always know the people that we honor, but I knew Ed Loper. One of my great regrets is that when I knew Ed and he had some wonderful paintings, I kept thinking, I've got to spend money to buy one of these paintings. And of course, just like everything else, you take a look at your checkbook and you'll take a look at the painting and say, well, let me just wait a little while, and then now, like, dummy, why didn't you do that? Because I love his work, and in fact, we have a beautiful Loper right in our office. It's a really exquisite painting. We remember these folks less for them than for us, because they create aspirations for us. They remind us of our soul. They remind us of who we are in this wonderful city. I can't imagine anybody worth memorializing than Ed Loper, just an outstanding artist and citizen of our city. So I have an executive order. Normally I don't read these, but I want to read this one because it's worth reflecting on Ed's life. Whereas born in 1916 in Wilmington, Delaware, just about my age, Edward Loper Sr. grew up on Heald Street, inspired by fellow Delaware artists Andrew Wyeth and Howard Pyle. Mr. Loper taught himself to paint. In 1937, he became the first African American to enter the annual Delaware exhibition at the Wilmington Society of Fine Arts, where he won an honorable mention award and a year later won first prize. In 1945, he gained national acclaim when his works are included in the historic exhibition, The Negro Artist Comes of Age, at the Albany Institute of History and Art. Mr. Loper became a nationally recognized artist whose paintings are displayed in numerous distinguished museums and are celebrated for their vibrant use of color. Mr. Loper also received many accolades and awards throughout his life, including an honorary doctorate of fine arts, honorary degree of humane letters, and the Governor's Award for the Arts. In addition, he gave back to the community by teaching for over 60 years, during which time he helped countless aspiring artists to see color. Whereas based on his significant contributions to the city and pursuant to Wilmington City Code, the mayor is honored to designate the 1200 block of North Heald Street as Edward L. Loper Sr. Way. Now therefore, I, Michael Brzezicki, mayor of the city, do hereby order that 1200 block of North Heald should be subnamed Edward Loper Way. A suitably prepared copy of this executive order shall be presented to the Loper family, executed this day, the 9th day of October 2018. I'm so proud to be a part of this. Mr. Loper, we love, this community loved your father. We miss him deeply, and this is just one small way to honor his memory.
I had a lot to say before I knew what was going on, but I was born in Cade Street, right up here, in 1934. And the first painting I ever saw was my father doing a painting out of my bedroom window, looking west toward Market Street. And the painting was 11th Street Bridge, and in the background you could see Hotel Rodney. That must have been around 1937. I was just a little kid. They just made the bridge up here, and it was finished. So he decided he's going to look out of my bedroom window and do the painting. But just below that painting, I discovered a city dump. All right. And everywhere he did a painting, they turned it into a city dump. I can count 10 dumps in this area. City dumps. the pond I skated on became a city dump. They gave us 3 junkyards. The only nice thing about the junkyards, Ringling Brothers would hang signs on it and show you what tigers look like in the circus. I used to look at those things and maybe I could draw that someday. Dad gave me a paint box, all right? I'm not even 10 years old yet, and I started a painting right up here at 1221, looking out the door at Aunt Nancy's house across the street, all right? Dad said, it's a nice painting. You don't see color. Go over there and look at those bricks and tell me what color you see. So I go across the street and I looked at the bricks just like this. All right. The bricks were red. I came back. He said, what color do you see? I said, I saw red bricks. He hit me. All right. I said, I don't need to paint. I can do other things. So I decided what I was going to do. And I was going to be a swimmer. I was going to be an ice skater. I was going to be everything that he wanted me to be. I couldn't play football for Howard because I had a bad knee. All right. So I did what I wanted to do. But I didn't realize that I could really draw. And he'd brag about it. The kid can draw, but he can't paint. All right. And I think I was about 13 or 14, we went to Cape Cod. And at Cape Cod, it was like going to heaven. You know, the ocean was there, all nice stuff. People were friendly. They didn't call you names. And I went in a little restaurant and bought a book and had lunch. And then I bought a sketch pad and went down to the town pier in Cape Cod, Provincetown it was. And I did a drawing of these large fish being put in boxes. And people came over and they were looking at the drawings and, where did you learn like that? You're beautiful. I brought the book home, and when I got back to school, kids said, oh, that's not for real, you didn't do it. But, huh? Yeah. But I had a show with Dad, and he said, the thing about this is I wouldn't show with anybody else except you, because you know what you're doing. But I learned to paint by just doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I'd like to ask Councilman Guy to come up and say a few words. Councilman Guy was initiated this request to our office, and for that, he ought to be commended.
I want to thank all of you for coming out today. This is one of Wilmington's busiest corners, and so that's a good thing, because we've put a stake in the ground and people will see this sign and they'll realize that this area had a person of historical significance that's been recognized by the residents of the city of Wilmington. As elected official, councilmen, we get to sponsor resolutions recognizing people, but we don't always know everybody. So people have to give us ideas. So what I want to do first of all is I'd like to thank Steve Washington for sharing with me the story of Edward Loper Sr. as connected to this area, because almost everybody knows about Edward Loper Sr., but everybody doesn't necessarily connect him up with a particular neighborhood. And that's what we've done here today. And that's important because there's young people that crisscross, grown folks, and now they're going to make that connection. And this is an area where there's a lot of people who need more hope. And people, it's good for people to realize that sometimes they live or walk around on a block where they may feel hopeless at some time. But to look up and recognize that world famous people walk that same block and live that same block, it makes you feel like, you know, maybe I can do something that contributes to society. So I want to thank you for raising him up as to this area. City Council voted on this. My colleague here, Rashima Dixon, is here. We unanimously voted to recognize Mr. Loper. And we also agreed to ask the mayor to use his powers, his sub-naming powers, to put the stake in the ground here. And he and his staff were gracious enough, after they did their research, and as he said, he had personal knowledge, and so they used their power to do this. So thank you, Mayor, for that important step in all of this. So he's read the resolution, so I'm not going to go over all of that, other than to say, great artist and an educator, because there's a lot of people he touched by teaching, which means that the legacy continues through the people that he taught and the people that they teach. It doesn't die. A lot of times people think people die, but they can live on forever when they pass on their knowledge, skills, and abilities to others. So thank you all for coming out. Thank the Loper family for being here, participating. And I most of all want to thank Edward L. Loper Sr. for his contributions to our community and to society in general. Thank you.
So, Mr. Loper, this is for you. Okay. And so now we're going to come over and unveil our plaque up here, and I want grandson Stephen to join us. Hey.